It's Super Zombie Time!
Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. This video is going to be a mini guide to the new weapon type that was introduced in version 2.0, the Manacaster, aka Magical Gun. So there are only two adventurers right now who use this weapon type. One of them is Gunslinger Joe, the other one is the gun goddess Ilia, and in this video I'll be sharing three clears, this first one using Joe, the second one being another co-op clear using Ilia, and the third of course being a 4 gold Fafnir solo using Ilia in the lead. So I'm calling this a mini guide in part because this weapon type is still a relative mystery. We only have these two characters, they both are of the light element, and they both use a long-range Manacaster playstyle. We know that there are two other Manacaster playstyles available, so right now we really only have a window into this one, at least as far as outside of the Alberian Battle Royale. So I'm making this video to kind of give my initial impressions, particularly because we know a new Manacaster is coming pretty soon in the form of Lapis. She looks really exciting, a lot of players are probably going to want to try summon her from the Phantom's Ransom event. Hopefully, I'm assuming she's playable, but hopefully she is. And she's obviously wielding a Manacaster in her art, so I think we're going to get a new Manacaster very soon. In any case, I had a lot of fun testing out Joe and testing out Ilia. I recommend starting with Joe. He's a lot simpler. He's a little bit more bare bones as far as his kit and playstyle. And Ilia is kind of like the cherry on top with a lot of special properties that make her more unique. Obviously, she is kind of intended to be a special character associated with the anniversary, even though she's not limited, so her kit has a lot more going on and is probably more difficult to master if I had to compare the two. As far as the Manacaster playstyle, it really revolves around firing a few shots. One shot is ideal for SP generation, and then immediately dashing or sliding, basically using your dodge animation to try move away and then fire another shot. Unlike the other weapon types, Manacasters don't really have a proper multi-hit combo. Essentially you just tap and they'll start firing off, but you can interrupt that at any time by sliding away and dashing, and a lot of the Manacasters, well, 2 out of 2 so far, have some type of dash-based effect. So I expect that to be a trend that continues. That seems to be one of the hallmarks of this weapon type. And at least for Joe, the effect that he gets when you dodge or dash with him is you get a little bit of critical rate. So you ideally want to fire one shot or so, and then dash, and then that lets you set up so you can fire another shot and continue to build SP that way. By interrupting your full combo and dashing, you can start off a new combo, and you only need one of the bullets or one of the magical shots, the mana shots, to actually hit the enemy to generate the full amount of SP from your tap. So you just want to kind of slide and shoot. And in Ilia's case, not only does she get a benefit from sliding, but it's actually an attack itself with a certain amount of hits. I think it's about 7 or 8, so it's a really good way to accumulate combo. So now I'm using Ilia. The big difference with Ilia and Joe is that she has this whole unique alchemic charge and cartridge mechanic. So you can wait if you'd like to until you get 3 in your number on the left of the screen there before you use alchemic enhancement. When you do that, you're going to end up with 3 cartridges. You can spin those cartridges using your first skill, second skill, or spend all of them at once by doing a force strike. The hardest thing to incorporate, in my opinion, is the force strike. You mainly want to use that when you don't have time to actually use your other skills, but it's kind of hard to get into the flow of using that. Otherwise, she does play kind of similar to Joe. Basically, you tap, and as soon as possible after you tap, you want to try slide away so that you can tap again and generate more SP. The problem being, sometimes if your cadence is off, you may slide before you've actually fired a shot. And in Ilia's case, it can be hard to differentiate whether you fired the shot or not, because even when you slide, you're hitting the enemy, so your combo count's going to be going up. So you do have to be a little bit careful about that. You want to make sure you're getting off your shot. So I lean toward, even if I don't end up hitting the enemy exactly 1 time before I slide, if I hit them 2 or 3, that's totally okay. As long as I'm sort of sliding away and trying to build up SP, that is generally the idea that you want to go for with these Manacasters. One really cool thing about Ilia as well, the fact that she has hits when she slides. She She's really good for taking out the Tartarus clones, and she happens to have dual resistances, so she can go into any of the portals and make really quick work of those. She actually tends to clear them and give you access to a dragon almost before you actually really need it. In this run, we're clearing fast enough that obviously we're not going to bother going into any of the portals. Incidentally, I wasn't able to get as fast of a clear with Ilia as I was with Joe, so funny how that worked out, but I do think Ilia is probably a stronger character overall. And yeah, there you have the end of my co-op runs here. So the Manacaster weapon type is pretty cool. I definitely think it has a unique playstyle and unique feel to it. Sliding around makes it feel quite different than playing with bows or playing with wands or staves. I like that there's a new ranged option in the game right now, and the fact that you're sliding back and forth. I think the thing you want to be careful about is you can get a little bit punished at times. Even though you tend to have really good iframes if you're continuously sliding, remember, you're not really continuously sliding because you're going to fire a shot, then dash, and then try fire a shot again before your next dash. So while you're firing those shots, there is an opportunity for you to be interrupted there. And there are a couple times you'll see one in this example of solo play where I actually kind of messed up, where I slid with Ilia before I had got my shot off and then didn't have the SP I needed to actually iframe. So they're an interesting class. I definitely feel like you just need to get reps in if you want to try master this class. It feels like you get a lot better with practice overall. I think that it's cool that there's a new ranged weapon type as well, because a lot of compositions for solo play, if you're not doing these auto comps that I've showed several videos of recently, well, if you're not doing an auto comp, it does tend to be the case that you want to have a mix of ranged and melee characters. And for several fights in the endgame, I find it's most convenient to have one melee and the rest ranged. Including for Tartarus' Wrath, I do think it is beneficial to have one melee and the rest ranged. However, the nice thing about the Manacaster, and especially Ilia with her sliding to deal damage, is she can kind of play at a melee distance while the other range stand back, and so she can kind of bait a lot of hits, and your other range tend to be pretty safe. That's one thing I really enjoyed about the solo, and another thing they've changed in solo Tartarus' Wrath on expert difficulty is, well, now any character can go into multiple portals. In the past, you could only use one of your characters on your team for each of the different portals. Now, even though a character went into a portal once, they can still go into a portal a second time. So in this clear, I'll end up going into all the portals with Ilia. I think that she is a great choice to do that with, obviously, because she can just slide back and forth and decimate the shadows like you probably saw there. But yeah, Ilia's an interesting one. I still feel like I don't have a full grasp on her because I'm not an expert at using her alchemic charges and cartridges. What I tend to do is it's hard for me to pay attention to everything, so I do probably spam the skills in the wrong order at times, or I will use my skill Alchemic Enhancement to convert into alchemic cartridges at maybe not the most ideal time. But overall, I've had a lot of fun playing as her. I'm really curious to see what they do with Lapis. She seems to have more of a pistol, so maybe she'll have the short range Manacaster style. I really know nothing about magical guns in reality, so I have no idea what that would translate into, if that's actually a preferred for long range or short range, but to me it looks like a short range type thing, or maybe medium range, so that's kind of what I'm expecting for her. I also think that she'll have probably a different element so that we can get different varieties of Manacaster weapons and start getting more weapon bonuses. Manacasters are a pretty good weapon type to go for if you want to slowly build up the weapon bonuses, because obviously they're not all available. So in all these clears, I do have all of the weapon bonuses for Manacasters unlocked that are available right now. And in the co-op clears I showed, my weapon wasn't fully unbound, but by the time I finished my co-op for this solo clear, I am using a max unbound Manacaster weapon, and I think everything here other than Gala Zena's staff is max unbound. So that does mean that we're able to clear pretty quickly, break at a decent rate, even though we're using gold Fafnirs here, and it's making everything pretty safe as far as this clear goes. I guess it's a little bit off topic, but Gala Zena, definitely a valued team member here, since it means that a lot of my ranged characters can kind of sit in the chaotic nebulas as they come. They don't have to really too much worry about dying off or anything like that, which was a challenge in this fight to solo pre 2.0, but Gala Zena's an awesome addition to that, even a regular healer now. the DPS check on this isn't as high as it used to be, so I think that you'll be good to go with whatever healer you use. But come out of the portal, and this caught me off guard. I should have waited to see the punishment waves text before I went in there, but even this seems to have been nerfed to some extent because my ranged AI get hit by it, they don't immediately die by any means, and that is where I meant to use my second skill but had just not charged it up fully in time to iframe. So unfortunate mistake on my part. I felt like the run was going pretty good other than that, but it still was completely winnable, again thanks to having a healer on the team. Another thing I want to say and point out with this clear is you really have probably a lot more open to you than you may think. If you're seeing a lot of these auto clears with Grace or Tiki and you think to yourself, I don't have those characters, well remember, auto is a convenience factor. You can still clear without autoing. There was manual play before auto came around for a lot of this content. And Tartarus' Wrath is one, in my opinion, it's very hard to get a 4 gold Fafnir auto. I haven't even seen one. I don't know if there is one out there. If there is one, it's probably RNG dependent because I think even the best right now regular autos have a little bit of RNG involved. So I would be shocked if we get a gold Fafnir auto of Expert Tartarus anytime soon with all 4. So in the meantime, while that's not possible, you can manually play it as I'm showing here. And the same is true of all the other endgame content. I know I'm at a point where I've spent through most of my honey, so at this point, it's not like I'm trying to times 99 these fights, which is when auto really shines. I have played through over a long period to get rid of all those extra resources, so if you're curious about trying to solo, I definitely recommend checking it out. Ilia is a really fun one to use. And yeah, I thought that conclusion was pretty epic. Nice way to send off Tartarus. I'm going to be playing this fight to try build up materials for my tree once the master difficulty comes out next month. Tartarus still being one of my favorite battles in the game right now. Let me know what you think about the Manacaster weapon type so far. I'd be very curious to hear your take on it, your experience using it, and any tips that you have for others. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. That is going to do it for today. Take care, and I'll see you next time.